move along and have Dan give you a chance to kind of show off and talk a little bit about your use and your experience with UDA so far as well. So Dan's been a client of ours since 2011, actually. I think, Dan, you and I started about the same time, actually. That's kind of the fun thing. I was thinking about that. You and I had started working with and for UDA around the same time. So it's been fun to see kind of how you've continued to grow and evolve and make use of the software. But Dan, you're up in what was it? In
Pennsylvania, right?
Pennsylvania, that's right. I was like thinking it's not Connecticut. In the north there, so you've got some colder weather this time of year, it sounds like, more so than typical. But anyways, I'll turn it over to you and kind of let you share.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan Clune from the great state of Pennsylvania.
People let me forget that one.
I own a company that's also design build, although we're not architect-led. We interface our consultants and handle the smaller design in-house, do a blend of new construction as well as a whole bunch of renovation work in the western suburbs of Philadelphia. So 2011 was a good year for a few reasons, one of which I got introduced to this company, UDA Technologies, and they were starting to put out this product called ConstructionOnline, and I guess I'll share a few things about how I got involved and then why I stayed involved, and then give you a little tour of what my application looks like.
Yeah, perfect.
So a couple of things that were non-starters for me when looking for a company like this one was I was a big QuickBooks user, and I don't know if you all have accounting solutions, but if you're using QuickBooks, the reason I use it is it helps me with year-end compliance and keeping my costs in check, and I wasn't looking for some big expensive new accounting solution. So seamless integration with QuickBooks was very important to me. If you are a user, then you understand that QuickBooks does some outstanding things with compliance, but it does some real terrible things with construction in regards to change orders, job costing. It's just horrible with that kind of stuff. So UDA really dovetails nicely with QuickBooks, and I researched it quite heavily in the beginning, and they won some Intuit Award or something, and that kind of gave me some confidence. But it really does integrate seamlessly with QuickBooks, and if you ever have any issues, I think Ian's on the line. He's helped me out a few times. He's like everyone, has got their act together over there when it comes to this kind of thing. And that was the second thing for me was support. To kind of piggyback a little bit on what was said earlier by Mac was, a lot of times when I call and I have an issue, and with software, it's inevitable. You'll always, eventually you're going to have some sort of issue. Unfortunately, on my end, most of the time it's me. But when I call, most of the time, someone gets on the phone and helps me out when I call. It's not like they schedule for the afternoon or tomorrow or Friday. I still can't believe how many times I've called in and someone fixes my problem when I called in. And for me, that's important because, like everyone else, we run with lean staffs, and we don't have time for all this stuff. I don't have an IT department, so that's been very helpful. So those two things were extremely important and are two reasons why I'm still here. Awesome. The other couple of things why I'm still here, and if you guys will share, put me on the screen in the meantime, is technology has to save me time. If it doesn't save me any time, I don't use it. I'd rather just use my 3-ring binder. But ConstructionSuite and Online have saved me a whole bunch of time, because what I found that it does is it has taken away some of the communication that doesn't need to happen. Like, for instance, what's my specification for the range that I picked? Or my plumber might ask that, or my electrician might ask that, or the customer might have forgot what range they picked. And you don't need to have that conversation anymore, because if you're having it up front and setting the expectation of using this tool, everyone has the same information. So if they want it, they go get it themselves and save a whole lot of meaningless conversation. So I found that we got some time back out of it, and that's been big for me. The last two things on that, and then I'll stop talking about why I'm still here, was progressive development. So if you can't change with the times, you get old, and then people go other places. Especially I need this kind of stuff. I know when I first came on and started using their online tools, I was using 3 or 4 tools to do my job. Now I'm primarily just using one, because they keep developing new tools that we need in construction. You know, like they didn't have a good scheduling tool for online use at first. Now they do. It's fantastic. You know, they didn't have a punch list management application. Now they do. Like, so they're putting things in front of us, and I think you know, are listening to their customers and giving us some tools that we're asking for. So that part is very important to me. And the other is ease of use. So we work for young professionals, we work for old people, we work for everybody in between. And you know, everyone's got themselves an iPhone or something, whether it's just for looking at pictures of their grandkids or like everyone who's a younger professional who relies on this kind of information. So if they're the younger side of things and you're using these types of tools, I found it's almost a competitive advantage to the old clunky, you know, construction companies who can't give the information to the customer the way they're used to getting their information. You know, no one wants to be handed a set of prints anymore. They want to see digital prints if they're the customer because they don't, you know, they don't really care that it's huge. They just want to see the print. And you know, the older generation, it's so easy to just to log on and get their information. I've actually found that they're very receptive to it too. So you know, that part of it is very important to me. Okay, so in the interest of time, I will just kind of move on and get into the application, which I have up here. One thing that's kind of nice is you can open up multiple tabs across your browser. If you're seeing full screen, like you can open up ConstructionSuite in 3 or 4 browsers and really get snappy with your application. Or this is ConstructionOnline. You know, instead of having to navigate through the menu if you're always using the same tools.
Yeah, and Dan, let me stop you right there real quick. I think you've still got to show. You've got it on, so you just need. I think there's a button where you'll need to hit show your screen. You see that on yours?
Ah, there it is.
Perfect. Okay, now we're good.
Ah, we gotcha.
My screen now, that's helpful.
In theory, that sounds great. That's perfect. There you go.
Mac had showed you the new version of ConstructionSuite. I have still yet to upgrade to the new version, so I won't show you mine because it's going to look too old. And you guys just saw the new version, and that looks fantastic. I can't wait to upload the new version to my
Good. Good.
So once, you know, it does a very nice job, and I spoke my piece about the QuickBooks thing. That's enough said for that side. But this side of things we use as our primary tool to manage our construction day-to-day activities. Mm-hmm. It really is nice, and I'll show you 3 things in here that are very important to me. The first is permission-based access. So, you know, I have a folder here. This is our screen that anyone who's a company person like me, my office manager, you know, people like that who need to see everything. That's this Files and Images tab. So, for instance, under the Client folder we have here, you know, we don't want everybody seeing the agreement, the allowances, you know, certain things in here. They don't need all my different insurance type information and all that and receipts and backups. Only the client needs that. So they have this little tab called ClientLink. So anybody in here is a client, and anything that's in here is only visible by that client. So it's very easy to follow and very difficult for people to put the wrong stuff in there, right? Like it's kind of in this bucket or that bucket. Are they a client, yes or no? So that part, you know, you just push this information to that file with a couple clicks of the button, and it's easy. The second part is this team link. So that's everybody who's on the team, the vendors and the trades. And you can get specific in there on which vendor and which trade sees what information. You know, I want everybody in here to see my prints, my specifications, things like that. So I'll give you a couple of quick examples. Like one thing that I find that's pretty popular with my clients is they like to show off pictures, right? So they're out someplace and someone's asking, how's their project going? You know, where are you at? Where are you at? And they say, well, here, I can show you. They just pull it up in their iPhone or whatever they've got there. We park a lot of rendering type things in here. You know, there's all kinds of, you know, different files that they can pull up and show to their friends. And, you know, we can do it as well from our own applications too. So you see there's lots. It's kind of like a structured Dropbox, you know, in the sky, which just it looks a lot nicer. When they're sitting there on any device that they have, and you know you want to take a look at a file, you just look at the preview of the file. It'll show you, you know, a quick rendering of what your project's looking like. And when they're sitting at dinner, this is like them doing some marketing for you. And if you put that kind of information in their fingertips, they tend to show it off because, you know, they like to talk about what they're spending, you know, money on and what their experience is like. Another feature, which is probably the single best thing that I think we do with ConstructionSuite, is specifications. So if one of my vendors or anybody logs in, they're going to have a folder that says specifications and finishes. So I don't know about you guys, but you know, sometimes coffee spills on stuff. I don't know, someone forgot it, lost it, you know, they stepped on it, whatever. So the plumber shows up and he says, you know, well, I got to go install the range. Where do I put my electric? You know, or where do I put this? Or where do I put the gas line? So if you take your range right from your manufacturer, you take the PDF, and he looks it up on his iPhone because he forgot to bring the paper copy, and it's here, right? Mm-hmm. So the same thing goes with any trade that logs in or anybody who's there. Now, that's nice, but the big kind of thing for that with me is we used to have 3, 4, 5 paper copies of this out in circulation at all times. Mm-hmm. So what happens if something changed? Right? Or the customer says, you know what, I bought a different range, use this one, or would you buy, you know, change this to this? How do you remember who's got all that stuff and, you know, who's operating with the right spec? So if we just replace this spec with the range spec, they have some real nice email communication tools in here. I won't go into that, but in short, it looks like this. You set up your email parameters so that if anything gets changed that you have access to, you get a quick notification via email immediately with a link in it, and it says, here, there's a new range spec. Simple as that. So, you know, if anyone has an email address, or if you know, they can take a text message, they get notified without you having to tell everyone who's relevant to that range spec change. So that piece of information has saved me countless mistakes, and it's something that we use every day, all day. Let's see. Another nice thing is, you know, scheduling. You know, we used to use a couple other scheduling tools. You push this right out of ConstructionSuite if you want to. I tend to just build them here, and you know, you build a template and then replicate and change. So it's very quick and easy to change and manipulate there. So you know, it's all predecessor relationship stuff. I'm sure everyone has seen Gantt chart before, but you know, very nice little packaged up tool here. Another one that we've used a lot recently, for maybe the last year or two now that we've been using it, is this punch list application. This is the same project. I just preloaded it up here. The punch list application is really nice, and you know, there's a couple of things that are consistent with the tools in ConstructionSuite here, and I'll just open this up. So I have, you know, a couple of punch lists for this job right here. This one, you know, the list is called painting and drywall, so things relative to there. And we have this one, let's see, it's a spackle touch-up behind the stair rail. So if you open that up, when you build it, you know, you can communicate, you know, any notes that you want to in a little running log. You can set people who are assigned, but then people who can view it, these related people here, and you know, set some due dates and things like that. And it's a nice little application for what we use it for. You can attach, you know, any pictures or files or issues that you find with it, and then you know, when your guys show up and they log in through their iPhone and pop up the punch list of that day. You know, sometimes it's a little bit of a training issue to make sure that they always go there before they leave the job. Therefore, they would have had the information. But you know, that's a training issue. But I find this tool to be extremely helpful as well. Let's see. There's lots of other great tools here. You know, for specific use cases, you know, you can drill into that. But you know, I just wanted to show you guys some of the ones that were important to me. And kind of the reason I'm still on board, and you know, the reason I really agreed to come on to this webinar is what they pointed out in the beginning. You know, when I call in, I'm always asking, you know, what are other people doing? You know, I'd love to see some little, you know, things how someone else is using the software. So yeah, hopefully you found a piece of it interesting, and that's about all I got.
Excellent. Yeah,
Thanks, Dan.
that's awesome. It's nice to see really how you're using it, and you know, seeing we've got all these practice projects and things, and so it's always fun to see kind of what people are doing and how they're using it and what they're what seems to work really well. So we appreciate you showing.